Hey, welcome back to Doodling with Purpose. We're going into a new tense today. We're going into the present tense. So without any further ado, let's get back to ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic verbs. As we've talked about, 4 types: strong verbs, doubling verbs, weak verbs, extra weak verbs. You'll learn what class each verb is as you go. It's just one of those things like any language. All right, so with each tense, there are clues that tell us what tense we're in based on the structure of the verb. With the infinitive, we talked about the extra T. With present verbs, we are going to have, I guess, the fewest clues, but very direct. Basically, it's changing the verb from hear to hears, or see to sees, love to loves, if you will. All right, so let's go through each of the 4 tenses and talk about how you convert into present. Strong verb, sidim, to hear. All right, all we're going to do, we're going to add a pronoun or a noun, whoever's doing it. So in this case, she hears. She, he, you, we, the king, the man, the donkey, the entire 49ers football team, whoever does it goes right here. Boom. So that's just links right onto the verb. It's the simplest transition, so it's easy to find, but it's also easy to miss because you could be thinking you're in a different tense. So present isn't used that much in hieroglyphics, simply because they were usually writing about the past or hopes for the future. All right, let's talk about doubling verbs. Also, pretty straightforward. You just take your doubling verb, and much like your strong verb, you just keep those double consonants, which is key because in past we recall double verbs don't double. So knowing the double verb doubles tells us we're in the present. And we're just going to add on our pronoun or noun or subject. So again, here we have she as a pronoun added to the verb to see. So it becomes she sees versus to see. Now we have she sees, simply by adding a pronoun or noun or any type of thing, object that does the verb's doing, if you will. All right, weak verbs. Key is that you have the verb as is. There is no extra T. So with the verb presented in its standard form and not seeing a T, which tells us we are in the infinitive, that means we're in the present. So it's kind of the lack of the T is your clue for present tense, whereas your addition of the T is your clue for the infinitive. And then, of course, like all present verbs, you add your pronoun or your noun, your subject. I really should have just wrote add subject, but pronouns are good to learn because that's a good vocabulary to keep up with. So here we have she added, so it's she loves. Same thing with extra weak verbs, but there is one slight change with extra weak verbs. If they begin with an R, the R is often eliminated. So the verb radi, to give, which is normally spelled R, mouth, hand, is just hand holding. I'm sorry, not hand, hand holding. So no R in radi in the present tense. It's just one of those like I before E except after C things. If you're in the present tense, the verb starts with R, you tend to eliminate the R, and it just becomes D with the subject, pronoun, noun, subject, etc. So here we have she gives. The verb radi, normally spelled with an R, in the present tense, an extra weak verb. If it happens to start with an R, you'll lose the R. Otherwise, it's just as is, and there's again no T, like there is in the infinitive form. All right, so just a quick step back, looking at our present tense verbs. So we know that it's going to become the verb from here to is now hears, and we're going to simply, for a strong verb, bam, add our pronoun or add our subject to that strong verb. For our doubling verbs, we're going to add that pronoun subject, and we're going to keep the double. So if you see a doubling verb and it's doubled, you're in the present. If you see a doubling verb and it's single, you're in the past. Sort of like a double door hint. For weak verbs, simply add that pronoun or subject and don't add a T. And same thing for extra weak verbs with the super extra addition that there's no R if it happens to start with an R. Weird, I know. Again, I before E except after C. Languages have even more confusing rules than this one. But there you go. All right, so your homework was copying down that sheet, adding past tense present tense to your verb structures. We'll be back here next week for more Doodling with Purpose. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being part of the class. You are so appreciated, and I'm glad you're here.